Hello, and welcome to my hobby. Today, at this moment in this video, I'm going to be talking about Daredevil. Now, Chip Zdarsky, who is writing very good Spider-Man comics, is also now writing Daredevil. And I got a confession to make. I own the Frank Miller Daredevils. I own all of the Innocenti Daredevils, but I've never actually read them. The reason I have never read them is because this comic book shop that I used to go to had a really dope dollar bin. So over the course of months, I just kind of started collecting comics, and I was able to get almost a full set of the third volume of Ghost Rider, the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. And I got almost all of the Jim Lee and Chris Claremont started X-Men line. And I also got all of the Daredevils. Because I got so many comic books at once, I didn't read them. I was actually currently reading all of the Spider-Man comics, because I had collected all of the Spider-Man comics, all of the volume ones for like Amazing Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man and Sensational Spider-Man. I'd gotten all those all at once. I didn't get all of Amazing Spider-Man, the volume one, just issue 100 to 444. So I was reading those at the time, so I couldn't read the Daredevils that I purchased. So what I know of Daredevil is what I have learned from other sources, people talking about Daredevil either online or reading something, but also the television show. I know that Daredevil and Punisher run into each other a lot, and there's a lot of like, you know how Batman and the Joker are like the same character, except there's like a dividing line between them. How that's always been something that they brought up. I guess it's kind of the same thing between Punisher and Daredevil. And when I started reading this series, from the very first issue, I knew that Chip Zdarsky was eventually going to write the Punisher. Because Punisher always shows up in Daredevil stuff. I mean, I know that enough from just looking at the comics that I bought. And I was happy for it, because Chip Zdarsky, he's gotten very good. And so this issue really brings up a lot of points. So the previous issues, what's going on in the story? Daredevil accidentally killed somebody. He thinks it's a ruse, a trap, a plan by Wilson Fisk to frame him. He's been accused of murder before. But he's starting to come to terms with the fact that he might have accidentally killed somebody. And in the previous issue, he was getting captured by police, and the Punisher saved him. And the Punisher thinks that Daredevil has finally seen the light, and that he's going to start actually taking out bad guys. So when the comic opens, Daredevil's kind of been patched up by the Punisher, and the Punisher has a dude there, and he's trying to get information from the dude about the owl and like some big plan that's going to happen. And as Daredevil and Punisher are talking, Punisher and Daredevil are having a discussion about the differences between the two, but also how Daredevil has finally seen the light, as Frank Castle says, and can do what's needed to be done, aka kill criminals so that they can't come back and hurt people. And it's a discussion. And that's all it is. It is actually a discussion. It's an interesting discussion between the two. Peter David writing Spider-Man. I love it. But Daredevil's tied down to the bed, and Frank Castle's going to kill this guy he's trying to get information from. I'm going to skip a couple pages here. And Daredevil, he keeps saying, I'm not a killer. I'm not a murderer. I'm not like you, Frank. And what ends up happening is Daredevil gets free, and he grabs a couple of guns. Of course, Frank Castle kills the guy he's talking to before this happens. Just to make a point, this guy's a murderer and I'm going to let him go. And as soon as Frank starts to let him go, the guy grabs a gun and gets ready to shoot the both of them, and Frank takes him out. But Punisher is insisting that Daredevil's a murderer just like him. They're the same guy, So Daredevil gets loose, and he takes he gets 2 guns, and he takes Frank Castle out by just shooting him and giving him flesh wounds. And that's enough to knock him down. And Daredevil makes his point. In other words, Chip Zdarsky makes his point. And he does a nice, statement about Daredevil and Punisher and the difference. And what Daredevil essentially says is, if I wanted to be a murderer, I would kill so many people. Like, people would be dead everywhere. The Punisher would be dead, for instance. Because, you give Daredevil guns. He does exactly what he does. He's incredibly accurate, hitting everything he wants exactly where he wants. So, if Daredevil wanted to be a killer and he picked up a gun, he would just slaughter everyone. But the main part of this comic is just Daredevil talking to the Punisher and getting away from him. The art in this is great. I really like it. Who's the artist on this? I'm not much of an artist person. I follow writers, because I'm a writer myself. Or at least I like to think I am. Where the hell does this say the penciler is? Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, whilst Marco Cicchetto. I cannot pronounce that. I apologize. But, Daredevil gets out. He drops off Frank Castle. And there's like a B story going on here with this new detective who's trying to take out the Punisher. And Fisk is trying to manipulate him, and he's just not going for it. And then, of course, there's this awesome advertisement for X-Men Grand Design, Extinction. The last 2 books are coming out. I believe this one comes out on the 29th. I'm excited for it. They're damn fine comics. But yeah. And then the comic ends with the Daredevil in a Punisher shirt going off to take out the Owl, who's planning some big thing going on. Frank Castle did get the information out of him before he shot the informant. But yeah, this is a very good comic book. I enjoyed it very much. I like the art on this cover. This is it's just the Punisher with Daredevil on his chest. Pretty badass. And that's all I have to say about that. So pick it up if you can. If you're not reading Daredevil right now, you should be reading Daredevil right now. Because it's getting good. Because the thing is that this is written as it should be written. This is a crime comic book. We're 4 issues in. There's no superpowered supervillains. There's no Hulk. There's no people who fly. It's the street level guys. This is a crime comic book. There are mobsters. There are dudes with guns. They're criminals. Street criminals, That I always thought comic books were at their best when they were crime comics. So get this. It's good. Anyway, subscribe. I would appreciate it. Yeah, take it easy. Bye.